Okay guys, welcome to my humble opinion classroom. Now in this video we'll be talking about the concept of nuclear deterrence in the international system. Now to better understand this particular video, we are going to have a definition of what the international system is and what nuclear deterrence is. Now number one, let's talk about the international system first. Now what is the international system? The international system is basically the whole world, like the whole continent, Africa, Europe, like the whole world is the international system. International students don't call it the world, we call it the international system. That's just the difference. In the layman's language, they will tell you the world. International students, international studies students, or international relations students will tell you is the international system. Now, what constitutes the international system? We have two factors that constitute the international system. Number one is the state actors, and number two is the non-state actors. Now, who are the state actors? The state actors are basically countries that make up the whole world, the international system. Those are the state actors. Now, these non-state actors are people like Coca-Cola, people like even Apple could be considered a state actor. Even terrorist groups like ISIS and the Taliban can be considered as a non-state actors. Non-state actors are people like companies, terrorist groups, individuals that have a measurable amount of influence in the international system. Those are non-state actors. Now, that's the two difference. That's what constitutes international system, the state actors and the non-state actors. And we have known the difference. We've known who is the state actors, which are countries, and the non-state actors, which are individuals or companies or terrorist groups that have an influence, a measurable amount of influence in the international system. Now that we've known what the international system is, what is nuclear deterrence now? Now, the definition is nuclear deterrence is a military strategy aimed at preventing an adversary from taking a specific action, which is typically or usually or mostly an attack, by threatening, devastating retaliation using nuclear weapons. Do you understand? That's what nuclear deterrence is. You are threatening that, like, if you do this, this is what will follow. Now, what are the key concepts of this nuclear deterrence? What are the key concepts? Number one is the deterrence theory, what we call the deterrence theory. What is the deterrence theory? The deterrence theory is the idea that the fear of retaliation can prevent an attack. That's the fear of retaliation can prevent an attack. That was what basically happened during the Cold War, the fear of retaliation. And the second concept is the nuclear umbrella, which implies that is the protections of allies under a nuclear powers deterrence. Like, this country is under this nuclear power umbrella. So if I attack this country, this other country that has a higher nuclear power would attack me back. That's the second concept. Now, the third concept is what we call the MAD doctrine, which is basically my favorite concept. The MAD doctrine, which is mutual assured destruction. It means that both sides will face catastrophic consequences in the nuclear exchange, which is, it can basically lead to, that was what caused the Second World War, and can lead to another Third World War, Fourth World War. Mutual assured destruction. If you do this to me, I'll do this to you. So there is mutual assured destruction. That's the MAD doctrine. And then the fourth concept is the second strike capability. Now, what is the second strike capability? The second strike capability is the ability to absorb the first strike and launch a counter attack. Yes, that's the second strike capability. The ability to absorb the first strike and then launch a counter attack, which would be more devastating than the first strike. You understand? In the Nigerian term, in the pidgin term, they will tell you that no be who do the first, no be first to do. They will say first to do, no the pain. You understand? So that's the second strike capability. It's just another word for it is revenge, which will be more deadlier than the first strike. Now, let's talk about the history of nuclear deterrence. Number one, we have the Cold War, which lasted from 1945 to 1991. Now, some scholars or some people will argue that it ended in 1989. Some will say 1990. But it's usually from 1989, 1990, 1991. That's where it stops. Some scholars have different dates when the Cold War ended. Number two is the Cuban Missile Crisis of 1962. All these are history of nuclear deterrence. Number three is the Strategic Arms Limitation Talk, which is basically abbreviated as SALT in the Soviet arms control. That's the history of nuclear weapon, major history. Now, the major one that is very popular is the Cold War. It's the Cold War, when America and Russia were building nuclear bases and nuclear weapons. They're just the first person to, you understand, mutual assured destruction, who will launch the first attack. Now, who are the countries now, the current nuclear powers in the world now, as we know? The ones that we know, because there are countries that are building it secretly that nobody knows. Now, number one is United States. Number two is Russia, which was formerly Soviet Union. Number three is China. Number four is France. Number five is the United Kingdom. Number six is India. Number seven is Pakistan. Number eight is North Korea, which is North Korea has been very threatening, especially to the US. North Korea has been a threat to the US based on this nuclear weapon stuff. And number nine is Israel, which is Israel's own self is undeclared. These are the ones that we know, but I'm very sure there are other countries somewhere building nuclear weapons that people don't know about. People do it in secret now. If they do it in secret, they are building nuclear weapons in secret. So that's what nuclear deterrence is in the international system. It's kind of a counter attack. It's what mostly prevents wars. Understand? Now, we just had the current news now that is happening now in the international system is Iran and Israel, which has not been new. You understand? Now, when they start firing missiles at each other, if Israel now wants to take it like to a larger audience, or not like to a, if Israel wants to blow it out of proportion, it will become a third world war. You understand? To become a third world war, that is the nuclear deterrence. It will become a third world war. It has the ability to become a third world war. That's why everybody they are building nuclear weapons so that they will have that deterrence. And they can launch from everywhere. Some people have a nuclear plant in the sea. Some have it even in your own country and you will not even know. So that's the concept of nuclear deterrence, and that's what my humble opinion class is all about today. Thank you for watching. Kindly subscribe to my YouTube channel. I have more stuff coming. I'll also be inviting some guests, some very outstanding individuals, some white people, black people, who will come and share their 2 cents